Alright, it's another week of the van build. So I'm starting to put out weekly updates of the van build just to show kind of what it's like building out the van, and also to kind of show how I'm building it out. Hopefully that helps you guys out with your van builds. Yeah, so I'm super excited. I'm working on the floor and also the framing. So let's get into it. So here I put the van rug mat here inside the van. It's a little bit difficult to do by myself, but I got it in here. I was trying to check to see how it fit here in the van before I do the framing and the rest of the floor. So it fits in here pretty well. One thing I noticed is that there's kind of like about a half-inch gap back here or so in between here and like the very back of the van, which is kind of interesting. You can basically pull the entire thing like back and forward about half an inch. Maybe they designed it to where they thought you would have the partition in the front, but I took that out. So what I'm thinking of doing is just leaving it and like pushing all the way forward, and then also I'm thinking I might just put like the some like foam, some of that like grade stuff foam right here on both sides to hold it in more, and then there's like gaps on the edges here. And so I've looked at it, and basically there's about 1.75 inches or so that you have there. So I'm thinking is that I could put like a 2x3 here, and then I could attach that to right here, and then same thing over here. And I'm going to use that to kind of fill up this gap here, and also I can use that to attach my vertical framing stud up to here. And I'm planning on using just like 1x3s for going vertically, and I was going to use the pocket holes, so I'll just go from here to here. And then as you can see here, there's kind of like these gaps here in the edges a little bit. So yeah, just probably going to put the foam right there, foam insulation right there. And then up here there's a large space here, and I was planning on putting like the 2x3s probably that attach to the side here through like these holes, and then I'll use that to build up and put the vertical 1x3 up to here probably. And just to let you know, there's about 1.75 inches or so from here over to like the van rug mat itself. Also, if you plan on using this van rug mat, it looks like it's about a little bit over ½ inch thick. So as far as the stack up of the floor, there's the van rug mat that's gonna go on the bottom, and then I'm gonna have the 2 inches of the foam board insulation, and then on top of that I'm gonna have the 3/4 inch plywood, and then on top of that is gonna be either the vinyl flooring or like vinyl plank flooring. That's gonna cover up about the top edge of this thing here, I think. About to right here is probably how thick the floor is gonna be, which is pretty thick. I think a lot of people don't have that thick of a floor, but I wanted to have some good insulation in the floor. And so I guess that what also that means is that I'm going to have to, if I'm going to attach a 2x3 here, then I'm going to have to put that on here first and attach it first before I do the rest of the flooring, or before I install the flooring here. Okay, and then just to let you know that if for the van rug mat, the width across the van up here in the front by the sliding door is about 70.5 inches. From over here, from that edge of the van rug over to here. You do have a little bit of width over here between the edge here and the actual sliding door when it's closed. Okay, so then the actual length of the van itself, this is the 136 inch wheelbase Promaster. If you go from all the way up here to all the way back here, you have about 120 or so inches. But so in the back here, I mean the floor for the actual van rug mat ends here, so that's where I'm probably gonna end the actual like plywood and like the subfloor right here. But so that gives you a few inches back here, which is gonna be just like the bare metal, I think. But also you have to kind of take into account this doorknob here, and that comes out, I think it's about couple inches or so. So if you want to be able to open this up while you're up here in the bed, you kind of have to like take that into account, how far back you're gonna have the bed. Also heard you might not want to put the like the end of the bed like onto like bare metal here, because then you can cause like condensation there, and then your mattress get wet probably right here. So you might not want to put your mattress all the way to the edge here, but yeah. So this kind of takes up some space here. So really, I think you'd probably can only go about a few inches from like. You probably can't use the back few inches or so for your mattress. I mean, yeah. So that, and then there's these like kind of angled pieces here. So on the back here, if you have your mattress go right here, you're gonna have to like cut it kind of like add like an angle a little bit, so you lose some space. You lose some width on the mattress. And then up here in the front, so on my van, I think it's different on different models of the Promaster, depending on how you had the bulkhead and everything. But this plastic piece kind of like juts out for about 2 inches or so. But also there's this kind of like vertical beam here that you have to take into account as well. So kind of like the first like three and a half inches or so are kind of taken up by this kind of like beam that goes down here. So you can't really, if you're gonna have like I'm gonna have like a bench seat here, but I think I'm gonna have to like end it probably right around here or so. So I can't really use like the front like 3.5 inches or so of vertical space. And also the actual like driver's seat, it comes out a little bit, so like it kind of curves back. So yeah, this space down here is kind of just like you have a little bit of space to like maybe store some stuff down here. And then from the kind of like middle rib here to the other middle rib here in the back of the van, there's about 73 inches. You can put your bed frame within that. I know a lot of people also, in order to get just a larger width, they have the framing piece like go back here. So that way they can push the bed back even farther to get more than 73 inches. But I'm not planning on doing that because I want to put an insulation back here. I was going to put a window over here on the passenger side, but I decided not to and just do the 2 max air fans and just have insulation here instead. So for me, I had this insulation here already, and what I realized, I put about two bats of the Havelock wool here. So it's about 2 bats thick here, and what I realized is that that thickness kind of like makes the Havelock wool kind of like push out a little bit, so it's kind of a little bit farther out than just like the actual like width of this kind of like cavity here on the side of the walls. So that's why I'm planning on doing like a 2x3 here. So 2x3 is about 1.5 inches, but then I'll have like a 1x3 on like the outer edge that goes vertically. So that should hold up the Havelock wool, but hopefully not push it in too much to where the insulation capability of it is decreased. Because from my understanding is that you don't really want to just like stuff like the Havelock wool like really tight, because like I think it needs kind of like the air gap to actually like work as like insulation. So that's why I was planning on doing like a 2x3 here instead of just like a 1x3 going vertically. Then also for the ceiling, you have to somehow attach the whatever ceiling material you're using from here over to here. So one way of doing that I've seen that I think I'm planning on doing is having like a couple pieces of 1x4 inch wood or so that's actually like 1 inch thick, and then having the 1x3 on top of that is able to curve and bend to the actual ceiling. I would use like sort of glue adhesive to attach the base wood material up to the top of the ceiling of the van. So I'm starting using the Loctite marine adhesive for that, and then you would put the other wood piece, like, drill that on top of that, and then you attach the ceiling material on top of that. So another thing you can do is attach the wood framing strip along here and kind of put it like horizontally like this, and then you can support the ceiling material on top of that. So I'm thinking that I might do both, so that way if the adhesive ever kind of comes off over time, then you can still support it with this horizontal beam here. So and then up here in the front of the van, there's kind of like a couple different things you can do as well, because you need to somehow support the ceiling material from like here going all the way over to like right here or so. So what you can do is you can actually pull back this headliner fabric materials, and by popping out these kind of like rivet things, there's like wires back here, and you can push back those wires a little bit, and then you can actually put back on the headliner, and then you can drill straight through here, through kind of like this beam here. So this kind of like a horizontal beam here, and you can actually drill through here, through this headliner material through to here, and you can attach like a 1x3 onto here. But if you do that, then you kind of cover up these headliner like rivets, so you can't really ever like easily take off this headliner if you ever need to get to the wires that go back here. And I think the wires for back here that are behind this headliner go to like the lights that are on the roof of the van itself. So another thing that you can do, and what I plan on doing, is having maybe like a 1x2 or something like that that's glued on using that Loctite marine adhesive that's glued onto right here in different strips, and that can conform to the roof of the van, and then I'll have a 1x3 on top of that piece. So that means that I have to figure out the actual thickness is how in regards to how far this goes down, and how far I need to go down here, so that way the ceiling is pretty level. Although I think for the ceiling material, I think I can probably have it curved just a little bit if this isn't the perfect like height here in regards to from here to like right here. But another thing is that from like this max air fan, there's about maybe a couple inches or so from here to here, but you don't have, it's not really like super flat. It's kind of like a stair step, kind of like goes down a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure I'm gonna do that, but I think I might just like glue the piece of wood kind of like to right here, and then hopefully the adhesive kind of adheres to like this other part here, and then I can kind of like just glue it flat across here. But I have seen people glue stuff to this edge here, and they use that as their kind of like horizontal beam in the front. Alright guys, you're about to witness history here. This is the first time I've ever used a miter saw, and I got the board here adjusted to 4 feet. This is a 2x3. Awesome. I got the first cut. Actually wasn't too bad. Okay, so we got the first 2x3s cut using the miter saw for the first time. Went pretty well, I think. So these two are 10 inches long, and this is a 4 foot, 48 inches long. And these two, I'm planning on putting it back here. Okay, so let's see how it fits up here. I think that fits pretty well. Okay, now this is the 4 foot piece that goes up here in the front. Seeing how this fits in here. So I'm planning on putting it kind of like this. So yeah, it fits in about how I was expecting, about right here. What I'm planning on doing is, there's already these holes here in a lot of places in the van. And I'm planning on using these, this is like a cross nut or plus nut. And I'm gonna put that into here, and then you use like a tool to like clamp it from like the inside, so like it pushes in on the sheet metal here, so that gives it pretty sturdy. And then you just use a 1/4 inch 20 bolt, and you just screw that in. Alright, so this is the step drill bit that we're going to use to drill out the hole larger than what it is. And I put some, just like a grocery bag back here, try to tape it up so that way all the metal filings would fall into it instead of falling down into the van more. And then I'm going to use the shop vac to clean it all up. So I ended up drilling this hole out to about 3/8 of an inch, and it fits in there pretty easily. So I think you might be able to drill just a slightly smaller hole. I can go down to 11/32. I believe is just right below the 3/8 mark. So over here, I did try the 11/32 size hole, and that was too small to fit in this cross nut, so I ended up just doing the 3/8 again, and that fits in pretty easily in there. So I'm hoping that that's good to go. Okay, so now that I got all the holes drilled, I'm just applying the Rust-Oleum paint around here. on the holes. So I measured the length of here as well as up here for these two horizontal beams, and down here it's gonna be 48 inches as well, same as down there. And then right here it's a little bit shorter at 47¼ inches. We go from right here where there's this indent here and all the way across back to about right here. So okay, so I'm just making the 48-inch measurement for this 2x3, and just want to mention that you can use this square here to line up and make a straight line across the wood if you didn't know about these things. So these are pretty helpful. You just kind of push it back. There's like a lip on here, and you push it back and it lines up so that we can get a straight line across the wood. I also wanted to mention that I have, along with the plus nuts and rivet nuts, I'm planning on using some of these like self-drilling screws to attach the wood onto the sheet metal. I got all these from Home Depot. So I have this Astro plus nut tool to put in these rivet nuts and plus nuts, and I'm still waiting for the Rust-Oleum paint to dry fully on the holes that I drilled out yesterday for down here. So what I'm planning on doing right now is installing some of the other rivet nuts. So in the van, there's these like hex holes, different places in the walls, and I got these hex rivet nuts that fit inside these holes, and then you can just use the tool to like basically make the hex nut to like crimp. So basically, like when you use that tool, it like pushes back the metal, and it gets like a good grip on the actual sheet metal back here. What I'm going to do is I need to take off the wool up here because I used some of these holes to put the string through to hold up the insulation, the wool insulation here. So I'm going to have to take that down so I can put in the rivet nuts in these holes here. So to kind of help you understand how to use this rivet tool, basically, so you have these handles here, and then when you push this down, it moves forward. This piece here, so this will move forward, and that's what actually clamps in the rivet. You have the rivet threaded on here. See, it moves forward and backwards. So when you have it threaded on here like this, and you clamp it down, it'll push in the rivet to clamp it down on inside the sheet metal. So that's how it works. So the easiest way that I found to kind of do this is you put the rivet in there, and you can extend these out like pretty far. If you have the handles extended out really far and try to do that, it's going to be super difficult. Like I can't even have enough force to push the to clamp down the rivet. So basically, if you have it down this far and you try to go from here, then it's a lot easier to clamp down the rivet. So you go like this. So it's pretty easy right there, and you can do this multiple times. So now the rivet is clamped down some, and then you can use this knob here. This knob turns a little bit, and this actually moves in and out the rivet tool itself. So you can turn this, and then that will move forward the rivet tool, so that way the rivet tool is closer up to the rivet nut, and then you can clamp down again. Yeah, so now the rivet's pretty well clamped onto the sheet metal, and it's not really going to move around at all. But yeah, you kind of have to do that multiple times. And then up here in the ceiling, in the very middle ceiling rib here, there's some holes that are already pre-drilled in the van, and I was able to put some plus nuts all along here. So there's 5 of them here. Alright, so I got the plus nuts into all the holes here in the floor that I drilled. So it looks like the 3/8 inch diameter holes worked out pretty well. So I've pretty much put on all of the rivet nuts and plus nuts wherever I can where there was already pre-drilled holes in the van. The next thing that I am thinking of doing is cutting some more wood for the horizontal beams. So like up here, where I'm planning on putting like 2x6s and 2x3s down here, or down here I think it's gonna be a 2x6 for the bed frame. Another thing that I was thinking through was how I'm going to be attaching the bed frame up to my 2x6 horizontal beam here, and I had a few different ideas of potential different bed frames that I could do. One of them was I've seen a lot of people do like the IKEA. IKEA makes like these like metal horizontal like beams that you can use that are like expandable, and they make little like clips that you can attach to the wood, and you can clip the horizontal beams onto that. I was thinking of doing that, but apparently those attachment points, like the clips that they make, apparently they can fail, and so I was like, well, I don't really want to use that and then it breaks over time. The other idea was to use some like unistrut, so you could have like just like the horizontal like unistrut going across and attaching up to here, up to the wood over here through some like L brackets probably. So that could potentially work. And the other thing I was thinking of doing was just attaching some like 2x4 wood and going across like that, and I've know that other people have done that, and so if I do that, and I was thinking I'm probably going to do the 2x4 wood beams going across, but in order to attach them up to like the 2x6 horizontal beam here, I was thinking of using like joist hangers to do that. I did some research on the 2x4s and the joist hangers that attach up to the 2x6. Basically the joist hangers are about, it says 3.66 inches wide, but that means there's about an inch of space from the edge of the horizontal beam here over to where the 2x4 would be. So this blue piece of tape is supposed to signify the 2x4. Basically, if you go from here over, so basically I put down blue pieces of tape of where I think the 2x4s are going to be for the bed frame. That should be a good enough width to still be able to go across the length of the van. From what I was reading, if you have about 16-inch spacing on in between 2x4s, you can go across about 5'11". I think that's just based on like a building code for like a deck frame. But yeah, for this 2x4, I mean the edge of the bed would be about right here, but there's gonna be like about an inch of space here. So I think that should still be okay for the plywood of the bed frame to be overhang just a little, like an inch over here, and then over here it would overhang just about an inch. But then I was thinking of using maybe a little bit over here to extend the bed just a little bit. I can't really use this bolt hole right here for a bolt, or this one up here, because the screws that you use to attach the joist hangers up to the 2x6 back here, they would interfere with the bolts that I would attach here. So I'm just not going to use those bolts and just use the other ones. Like I'll use this one, and then these two, and this one here. And I'm thinking of adding on another plus nut here as well. Alright, it's another day of the van build. So I was thinking that I would drill a lot of the holes for the riv nuts to put into other places, and also probably cut some more wood for the horizontal beams. And yeah, so a lot to do. Let's get into it. So wherever possible, I'm just trying to use the holes that are already in the van and just make those a little bit larger to fit the plus nuts in. So like there's ones up here I'm going to use. I decided to just take out the wall insulation here when I drilled the hole. There was a lot of metal shavings that still got back in here, even though I had the plastic bag up here to catch them. So just holding the shop vac up here while I drill the hole seems to work the best. And then I have this little kind of extension thing on the end of the shop vac that I can more easily get back here and just get up the rest of the metal shavings. I couldn't really get all the metal shavings out even from my shop vac back there, so I'm going to try to use this magnet that I put inside the sock here to try to get them out. So I put this sock magnet back there while I was drilling the hole as well, and that seemed to catch a lot of the metal shavings pretty good too. So I started to put some Rust-Oleum paint on some of the holes back here. What's nice about this kind of like gloss normal paint instead of the spray paint is that this stuff doesn't have as strong of smell. compared to the spray paint. If you put some of that spray paint down, it'll be like really it'll start to smell really bad, and I think it's kind of like toxic too. So yeah, I used spray paint for the floor of the van when I put that on there, and it was just like it lasted for like a couple weeks or something. The smell here in the van. So I got all the holes drilled for up here. I put a hole down here in the corner, and then there's 3 more, kind of same thing on each area. So a hole down here in the corner, same thing over here, and then the very back, a hole in the corner over here. Yeah, I didn't want to put the hole over too far because there's this like sheet metal part, and like that holds up this part, so they like connect together, so I didn't really want to put a hole through here. Okay, so I got some measurements for the horizontal beams in the van, and I'm going to start cutting those out now. So up top I'm going to use the 2x6s, and I numbered them before they go in the van. I decided to try to drill the hole for the 2x3 behind the wheel well there. I was trying to see if I could get the hole to line up with the rivet, and so I used this Play-Doh here, and I think that was pretty accurate. I pressed the wood up against the the plus nut, and I think I was able to get the location of the hole pretty accurately. The thing I realized is that maybe it's hard to see on there, but this bolt has some clearance to move around some, but it's really not at a good like 90-degree angle with the wood here. And I even tried I mean, this isn't the length of the bolt I'm going to use for this, but I tried seeing if I could even like thread the bolt through like the plus nut, and because of how much of an angle it's at, you can't even get it threaded through the plus nut. And this is like 1/2 inch thick right here, this 2x3. So even by trying to thread it through like right here, it was off enough to where I couldn't really thread the bolt through. So I'm thinking that it's going to be pretty difficult to just use my drill bit here to drill the hole. So I was thinking this before. I think I'm probably just gonna get like a drill press, so I can get the holes more straight and everything. And yeah, so unfortunately I think I'm gonna have to get one, because this is gonna be like impossible, I think, to really even do this. So today I'm planning on working on the floor, because I have someone else to help me move in and out the mat here, and also that Baltic birch plywood. If I get to that, it's like super heavy, so it's like impossible to move by myself. So what I plan on doing is using the van rug mat here to trace out where I need to cut the foam board insulation that's going to go underneath the plywood subfloor. Looks like it should be pretty easy. You don't have to make too many crazy cuts here. So let's get into it. So these are 2 4-foot by 8-foot 2-inch foam board pieces of insulation, and once I cut these out here, I'm planning on using the extra part over here to use for like the back area back there. So now that I got it traced out, now I just got to cut it, and I'm just using a jigsaw. Alright, so got the front 2 pieces cut out, and now I just need to use the extra remaining material from those cutouts to cut out this last part here. Right, so we got all of the insulation cut out for the floor. I think it turned out pretty well, and yeah, it was pretty easy, I think, to cut out this insulation file with that jigsaw. And the hardest part was trying to, on some of the cuts where I had to like lean super far over to just cut the insulation, because it was a couple feet over from where the edge of the board was where I had to cut. Here it is without the mat on top. Having that mat, just buying that as the template, seems like it probably saved me a lot of time, which is awesome. I got the 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood over here. Now I just need to trace out the van rug mat onto this and then cut it out. And this stuff is like super heavy, so you definitely need like 2 people to move it around, and it's like super expensive, unfortunately. These 2 pieces of plywood cost like over $300. It's like 300, I don't know, what it was like 330 or something crazy. Okay, I got the plywood up here on the sawhorses. In case you're wondering, I just have some 2x4s underneath here, and then I have the plywood set on top of that, and then I have back here, I have a couple clamps that are holding it down here. Okay, so I got both big sheets of plywood cut out. Now I just gonna need to cut out the last two here, doing the same thing as what I did for the installation. Another thing that I learned was that if you set the orbital setting on your jigsaw down to like 0, then you'll get cleaner cuts. It'll stop splintering as much. Wow, I got all the plywood cut out. Went pretty well, I feel like. I'm glad I was able to get it all cut out with just 2 sheets of 4x8 foot plywood. And here's all the plywood, same by itself. Just made sure I lined up the straight edges together, so like these lines I didn't actually cut, they were just cut along with the 4x8 foot sheets. Back here, these are just the straight cuts from the 4x8 foot sheets by themselves, so I just cut out the side parts here. See how this notch here in the van, where it goes up vertically, it kind of gets in the way of the foam insulation here, so you can't move it all the way forward. So I'm gonna have to cut out part of this right here, and then I should be able to slide it all the way forward. It's the same on both sides. Alright, so I think it's pretty good now. I ended up cutting off some front here, off of here on both sides, and I realized when I cut straight down, my jigsaw blade only cut like kind of like an angle, so I actually had to flip around the board and cut the other side as well, so that way it'd be more even all the way across for this front part here. Okay, so I cut off a little bit on these edges here to get it lined up more along here and along here, so that seemed to work out fairly well. I did that on both pieces, so yeah, it looks like it looks pretty good now. Right, so I made some of those adjustments to the plywood here, and it seems to fit fairly well, but it's really difficult to get this perfect. Okay, I got the second piece of plywood in here. Fits in here fairly well, and I don't think I'm gonna have to make any adjustments to it. Got the last two pieces of plywood in here. I'm gonna have to make some slight adjustments, just take off a little bit of this part here, so that way it slides up forward, so it's not as much of an angle right here. It seems to fit a lot better now, and so there's pretty flush along the edges here, and here in the middle is pretty good, so I think it's gonna be good enough now. Alright, that's gonna end it for this week of the van build series update, and I think I was able to get a lot done on the flooring and the framing. So if you want to see more of the van build series and how I'm doing different things, consider subscribing to my channel, Real Time Van Life. And alright, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.